Rapungi when he joined the Seven, Darmok and Jalad on the ocean, and Shaka when the walls fell. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
When the recording started. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 2, Kayshon, His Eyes Open. Special guests today, Mr. Rico Anderson and Dr. Trek, Larry NEMECEK.
Hey, guys.
That rhymes.
Call me in my post-Vegas stupor. Yeah.
Sirach and I figured we could take this episode off with Rico and Larry. Man, you guys could do your own podcast.
Yeah. Oh, who's to say that we haven't?
On the secret side of podcasting. No, I am totally happy to be a slice the pie here. This is great. Good to see everybody.
We should all be like, have like Temerian names, like Sirach when the recording started, Rico when the dumb joke fell, things like that.
Oh gosh.
Maybe that's my name. That's mine.
What I want to know. How did I get the dumb joke? Well, when it fell.
All right. So I guess we might as well talk about this episode because there is so much stuff packed into 22 minutes or whatever. As Larry said, what did you say about this? The freeze frames, Larry?
I said your normal Lower Decks is freeze frame city, but this was like freeze frame city on steroids or whatever. Quadro
freeze frame
steroids
county.
Yeah. Freeze frame county.
Really?
This was the county seat of freeze frame county. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why having Rico and Larry is so good on this thing because their knowledge of original series far surpasses mine or Sirach's, right, Sirach?
I'm going to definitely say mine. I don't know how far surpassing yours, but definitely mine. Because I realized that I was watching it, I was saying there's a whole bunch of stuff going over my head, and I just don't even know it. But I know that it's going over my head because
you could tell, right?
You know enough, but you knew enough to know what you didn't know.
Yeah.
See?
Right.
Right. And as much as I know about the original series, something tells me Larry will probably blow me out of the water with his level of knowledge.
Guys, I was like, wait, did they? I got all excited when they said Federation Standard, and then I didn't realize they had said it once or twice in Discovery and Picard. So anyway, I was watching for some historic things here, and you could just you're going to wear out your freeze button on your whatever you've got digital with this one.
As one does device. When they watch Lower Decks.
Well, let's start off real quick with the two things I did catch. There were two NAMs that I caught, which we call them NAMs. They're non-appearance mentions. That's when a known character or established character is mentioned, but they're not actually on screen. One was obviously Data, mentioned more than once. The other one was a fun one, Thomas Riker. Sirach, he came on to Deep Space Nine in like the third season, which was cool. That was Jonathan Frakes. Right. There are a lot more references about that, when Boimler ends up splitting in two, and when the guy makes a joke about, don't you want to debate the merits of a robot's personality or whatever the hell it was. So beyond those, I don't know. You guys want to start with Rico? Rico, do you want to hit us with all the references you caught? Because I know Larry's going to clean up everything in the cracks that we missed.
Don't be so sure about that, because some of that was, I haven't had it on, VistaVision screen to go look at something yet. But no.
We also got messages from associate producer Anne-Marie Seagull and super fan Don Crandall, Sirach, that you and I talk about fairly often when he sends us Lower Decks and Picard references. And he's got to be on the show sometime because this guy's original series knowledge is scary. Anyway, what do you got for us, Rico?
Well, it's a bunch of things, and I gotta say, as soon as they beamed onto that ship, actually, as soon as they said, "Hey, yeah, there's this collector dude who's dead. Mm-hmm. We need you to go through it and see," I was like, "Okay, they about to everything plus the kitchen sink." So we beam over there. As soon as you beam over there, you're like, what's that? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I noticed right off the bat was I get all these names always messed up. But remember that episode of Next Gen where Riker was playing that game with the
yes. You mean we saw that on like a mannequin head.
Yeah. So that was one, and then of course you saw bat lifts, you saw I think you saw a couple of like Sulu swords, but then like you saw a bunch of giants, and I was really wondering what those, because you saw like a big giant with blue
uniform.
Yeah.
I know. Oh
no, hit it. What it was?
No, I just blew. The thing I've been trying to remember for 30 minutes, I just remembered. To go ahead.
Yeah, and then I saw like a prehistoric looking like thing, which I think might have been like one of the Vulcan animals and stuff like that. And
Don Crandall says that was an Excalbian.
Which one was?
One of those, the big thick animals, right? You got this, Larry.
Okay.
Well, the Excalbian was Yarnek that made Leighton original Savage Curtain. Because Tendi is like holding the head with all the eyes on it, and she says, "Look, it's Excalbian body." That's what had the acid that dissolved the wall and they escaped. But the Excalbian was the thing that made Kirk and Spock see the images of Lincoln and Surak and Colonel Green and Genghis Khan, and they fought for good and evil on that planet as whatever. But that was an Excalbian. Yeah, there you go. See the head?
Okay.
Yeah.
Tendi was holding a head, and then she said, "Oh, look, it's bones," which could be just anything. But they secreted acid and blah blah blah. So somebody, whoever was doing that, like, "Hey guys, we need to let them get out, cut through the wall. What's the most bizarre thing we can go find?" And they're like scanning for acid. Oh, look, let's say they're Excalbian parts. I mean, that must be the way they put this show together.
Sirach, and actually, Sirach knows that I did the same thing when I would visit Rico's neck of the woods up in Berkeley. I'd be scanning for acid.
Oh, God. That's
true. True statement.
Really, it's
true story.
I'm going to just gear it down here on manual.
Larry, you did say that it's the thing that made them see Lincoln and Genghis Khan, and then you said Surak?
Surak. Very good. You're named for the father of Vulcan logic. Did you know?
I didn't realize that I was the father of Vulcan logic. I just wanted to expand on that a little bit. Surak Lofton.
Or you know about who you are.
Is the father of Vulcan logic. And excellent.
There was so much stuff, and there's a lot of things that was kind of going on that I don't remember. I should have taken better notes. But
that was flying by.
Oh, okay. Take the collection out of it. I think that's the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time that we saw like full on usage of like the sonic showers.
Yes.
Like the way that they did it.
Oh no.
We've never really seen that. Like I think maybe Enterprise kind of gave a little bit. Yeah, that was and I love how everybody just booty ass naked, just like hey.
That put the T's in teaser is what that did. Yeah. And no, I mean, so they created sonic showers for motion picture because we've got a budget now, and Ilea comes up in a sonic shower, and then I think
that was the first one, right?
One time, B'Elanna, when she's all depressed on Voyager, is in one, and then Enterprise had an early sonic shower, but you never saw like the communal. We're all going into the Roman baths kind of shower. With the control. That was the first time I think I ever. Oh, that's what a sonic shower control panel looks like. That was kind of bizarre.
And they were all in there together, like one big happy family.
One big dorm room. Yeah.
So obviously, nudity along with currency is not a big thing in the 24th century.
Whatever.
That's what I'm thinking.
For everybody but Boimler, apparently, because she made a note about it. Yeah. I was the sonic shower is a lethal weapon.
Why
sonic shower somebody to death? Wow.
Well, think about it. It's like they're turning up the hot water, and so.
Well, if it's supposed to be like vibrating your dirt away, that's what, like when they were bleeding out the nose. It's like, somebody's head's about to explode.
They could have left that out from me.
You didn't like the cartoon nudity?
That was such a weird scene, man.
It was so awkward for me. I thought it was a little bit awkward. I was like, this is why they don't show the sonic showers. This is the reason. Especially they just introduced a black character. All right, we got our black character on the show. I forgot his name, but
He was in I think one, maybe two previous episodes.
He was in another episode. Yeah,
he was there to make Boimler a little jealous.
Okay,
of Mariner.
But
one scene.
He doesn't give a shit. No, back to this black character. I'm like, well, so they introduced this black character, and then they got him walking into the shower, and I was like, okay, this is one of those jokes right here. I thought it was gonna. I was like, okay, they're going here. Are they really gonna go this direction?
Are they really going?
I was like, why does the first big episode that the brother gets? He's got to do full frontal nudity. I thought it was.
But he got it out of the way, and now he can build his career.
Now he can start his career.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad they blurred. It looked like they blurred certain things, and I like the little blur.
Oh yeah.
I was thankful for that.
This wasn't Lower Decks After Dark for sure.
I wasn't looking closely enough to know if they blurred you guys.
I was hoping that was like the actual sonic. I was hoping that was like Canon, but also did the good thing of blurring body parts. Like that was the sonic vibrations at work, because it was blurring the air and you couldn't see. Kind of like a heat mirage. Only.
No, they showed more on Enterprise. I mean, even with them not showing, they showed. But
that's an interesting point, Larry. Like, when you're looking over a really hot street and you see that heat mirage kind of thing, what if the sonic shower just does that naturally? What if it wasn't like them blurring it, but the sonic shower just kind of happens to blur your narnar,
they were blurring the guys,
your bathing suit areas?
Yeah, they were blurring the kind of the chest area of the guys too, which I thought was very, equal-minded of them. But then I went, maybe it was. We'll just say that it's the sonic, way.
I think that's a good point.
But then you can see the control panel really sharply, so maybe that's all just.
Right.
That was the line. What'd you do? Stop to debate the human rights of a robot? So that was like, is that a data reference? Is that an exocomps reference? I don't know.
I think it was for a data reference because there was a whole episode about that.
There was too for exocomps as well, if I remember correctly.
Well, see, my take was, and one of the this was one of those double take time. I guess I had more than, I was saying I had 2 laugh out loud moments here, but I guess maybe I had 2 or 3. But one was when I went back to watch just the beginning again and get another shot of that room a couple of times. But that arc, the whole thing with the Collectors Guild, to me was a throwback to Kivas Fajo and the Most Toys. And Data was kidnapped as just a collectible. Mm-hmm. And that's and even when Rutherford's got his Ruthie has got his thing, and the guy's looking at him like, "Oh, that's a cyborg implant." And he's like, "Yeah, we're pretty rare." And she's like, "Careful, he's going to collect you." Yeah. And he's like, "No, here's my card." That to me was all a throw to Kivas. But Saul Rubinek played that. He wasn't even the first guy. He was supposed to be David Rappaport, the little guy, and then he tried to kill himself. And in 3 days, they had to change it, and they went with Saul Rubinek, who was
really.
He would have thrown off the dynamic of having big data being controlled by little guy David Rappaport. But the point was that picture on the wall of the collector that died, and he's in black. And then when he comes alive, he's wearing that 2-tone purple thing. That is exactly what Kivas Fajo Saul Rubinek was wearing in the most toys.
Now a quick thing to add to that, our associate producer Anne Marie Seagal, who's still out in Las Vegas somehow, she's still there 3 days later.
Has anyone heard
she mentions the name Kivas Fajo, which must have been a subtle nod to our good friend Lolita Fajo.
It totally was. Yep, not so.
Whoa! Lolita got a shout out in this episode.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that went over my head. I didn't. Okay.
Well, she got a shout out in 1989 or 90.
Yeah,
but this is
Next
the homage
Generation.
throwback. The little pin that's on that.
It's an homage to the homage that was done for her 30 years ago.
Oh wow, double homage.
It was.
That's
so, what were the 2 lines that made you laugh out loud, Larry?
Well, it wasn't so much lines, but one of them was they keep playing with Riker and he says, what is it when they're partying? And he says, "Okay, computer, Nightbird," and the doors close right when you can't hear what the song is, which was the joke from when he's live action on Next Generation. late episode, and they go on. Marina's or Deanna's teasing him about play Nightbird, and like he's about to play it, and you've never heard the music of it, but it's like a joke, and so they did the same thing there. He says, "Hey, computer, play Nightbird," and the doors slam just as you can't hear it.
Kind of like the gag of when Morn is about to talk and they cut.
Exactly.
He goes,
right.
And they cut. What was the other laugh out loud moan?
Well, I don't know about laugh out loud, but one was the shuttle, and I didn't even think about the shuttle they took from the Titan down to the miners. And it was only like the second time I was like, oh yeah, the Titan number. Oh, okay, it's on there. And I'm like, yeah, they've got that at such an oblique angle. You can't they're not putting a name on that thing. And the second time I watched it through when it's coming at you, it's the shuttle Coltrane, which I guess is for John Coltrane.
Oh, nice.
It's like, okay, fine. So Riker's like naming all of his shuttles for jazz musicians.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, anyway.
The shuttle Coltrane. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was yeah. No, but the other thing,
now, are we sure that it wasn't a Dukes of Hazzard reference?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Rico knows, right?
I'm pretty sure when he said Coltrane.
Yeah.
Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Yeah, I don't think it's a Roscoe P.
Yeah, it's probably you're probably right.
I'm with Sirach. Yeah, pretty.
We'll go with him.
Not in 2021. Yeah,
yeah. That show didn't age very well.
No, it did not. Now, Sirach, speaking of which, you guys, we started a new thing this season that just started, which is Sirach's favorite line of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have one for us today?
I do. I actually had two of them in this particular episode.
Bonus.
My first one is Jonathan Frakes saying, "Great job, everyone. That's a wrap." I remember saying that on the set. So that's like his tagline when they're done for the day. I loved hearing him say that.
Wow, that's a deep cut then.
Yeah, they snuck that one in there. It was just good to hear that. So I was like, oh, look, they got that. Great job, everyone. It's a wrap. Because I swear he said that many times while we were filming. Like the other one that I really, it was a flashback moment. And I think, by the way, Jonathan Frakes is excellent in pretty much everything he does, right? I mean, from acting to directing and now voiceover. I mean, he's consistently great. So big shout out to him. And
you should try his pizza.
Yeah, I've seen the pizza. I'm not sure about it yet, but he's definitely awesome guy. Just try it. All right, I'll have some pizza. So yeah, Jonathan Frakes and his excellence. I love the guy as a person. I think he's just a big personality, wonderful person, and fills up the room with his presence. So just his little line there, I thought was funny for me. It was like an inside joke for me. But the other one that I really liked as much as or equally would be the line when the alien behind you, Ryan, gets turned into a doll.
Yeah.
And the octopus alien says something to the effect of, he'll be worth a fortune. I was loving that line. He'll be worth a fortune. This guy's a collector, and all he was thinking about is what else he could add to his collection. So I love that line too as well.
So this alien fellow is a Temerian. I believe they make Tamarian sunset beverages. He was introduced in the episode Darmok, Next Generation, or this type of alien was. And what's funny about them, and we kind of talked about it a little bit in our first episode review of the second season, is that they speak, everything is in metaphor for things past. Like they don't say, I'm hungry. They say, Ryan at the refrigerator or whatever it was. And you're supposed to remember, yes, this was the epic legend of Ryan when he was so hungry that he was at the refrigerator. I understand this. So that's why, and that was like such a great running gag where he would say, oh, what's that thing? Darmok and Jalad at the ocean. They're like working together. Yes. Or whatever it was. Brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah.
Well, the original Darmok episode was all about like the universal translator could totally tell you what he was saying, but you still had no idea what it referred to because it was all about context. And it was a great Star Trek story that can only be a science fiction story. But as usual, Lower Decks goes all meta on that and steps back and makes fun of that. Like, really? How does that work in real life? And how do like the poor guy, instead of like can't remember the words, he can't remember the normal phrasing for the metaphor. Right. And it was like, okay, that moment when he first walks on the bridge and you think, oh my God, he's going to speak in Temerian, gobbledygook metaphors. What does he say? Renelke when he met the seven or whatever it was. And they had that moment of Lower Decks, everybody staring like, oh my God, are we really going to be a 30-year-old episode here? And then he breaks it,
right.
and comes up, oh, that's okay. But then he still has the breakdowns, and gives in. And then Jet getting accused of being a brown noser because he knows the Temerian, and Mariner's like, oh, more like a suck up to it.
That was my favorite line actually, because that is totally Ryan humor. There was when he said, "Oh, where did it go?" But he says like, whatever at the whatever, and she's like, more like suck up at the. Damn, I wish I had the line.
Yeah.
At Tanagra, yeah. He says, it's no beast at Tanagra. And she goes, more like suck up at Tanagra. That was funny. A+ line for me, I think. Rico, by the way, Darmok played by the great
Paul Winfield. Late, great Paul Winfield.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who was also in Star Trek II,
Captain.
Wrath of Khan.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You can see him in the Twok. Yeah.
Yeah.
The what?
The Wrath of Khan uniform. That's what they call it. The Twok uniform.
You can twalk the twalk, but you can't walk.
Oh, that's Paul Winfield. Really?
A+.
Okay. Just looked him up.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's from the he's from the old school generation of.
He's old school generation. Yeah, he's like one of them old school actors.
Mm-hmm.
Born in
was great in Sounder with
Sounder. Yeah.
Sounder, the TV movie.
Cicely Tyson.
Good grief.
Yeah. He played also. Oh God, did he play?
Was he a police captain in some Formula police movie where the two guys
Doesn't
go off?
Doesn't he seem like he would be?
See, Sirach, they need their own podcast. It's the Rico and Larry hour. They could just like start feeding off each other, like old school knowledge, a little bit of Star Trek here and there. It's great.
I'm enjoying coasting here. I don't have to think about anything, and I'm just sitting back.
You guys are just giving Sirach stuff to Google right now. This is great.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I'm learning all type of things.
It's my mission in life here to help the unknown father of Vulcan logic to find his destiny. Okay.
Not the young.
I remember in the Terminator. He was actually in the Terminator, the original one.
That's it. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he played on L.A. Law. For I don't know how long.
But no, he was part of that old school, just that old school.
Well, he did a movie with Sidney Poitier in 1969. So
the one the Sidney Poitier right behind Rico.
Yeah, movie called The Lost Man.
Mm-hmm.
So he's old school as it gets when you've done movies with Sidney Poitier.
And probably a guy that these days would probably have a lot more and better parts to get than he could in the 60s.
Certainly earned it. Yeah.
Just
saying, a lot of negative representation back then.
Well, I'm just thinking quantity of just availability. Like everybody who didn't get.
Well, he was available. It was just.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. But name the ethnicity and name the not male gender people that didn't get. Just didn't have the roles. Yeah, the diversity.
Yeah, like him and Brock Peters, where they were kind of like of that group of actors that were you always saw them doing stuff. So
and Sydney,
Sydney. So
well, he got to break through to that upper echelon as far as mainstream. I'm air quoting here, audience, but yeah.
Okay. Sure. Now, speaking of mainstream. Your thoughts on the Pakleds? We've seen them in previous episodes. My favorite part of theirs was when they said, hit the wall with the saw. They're really milking the Pakleds they're right, because it's a race that's ripe for humor, So now it's funny that they're the big bad, but they're just
like
idiots.
Our snacks.
Our snacks, yeah.
They are such the lower decks adversary to have. It's like, no, we're not going to go up with Romulans, Klingons, Borg. It's like, let's make the Pakleds. I love how whenever they show one of their glommed on ships, because they're almost like the cheap junkyard Borg, because the Borg assimilate things, and it all becomes this big gleaming mishmash, and the Pakleds assimilate things, and it's just kind of stuck on, so they've got like pieces of all these people's ships hanging off. But I love how at the middle of all their ships is that little triangle ship you saw in their in Peak Performance, that thing with the little pointy nose that kind of hangs down like a Dewclaw or something, or a Dewlip or something. But it's like that little original ship is in the middle, and then all this stuff just glommed on like it was somebody that had a trailer and they just kept adding on.
That's a good way of putting it too. Yeah,
it's kind of like the homeless encampments I see a lot of out here in Los Angeles. It starts off with a tent, but the next thing you know, it's got a barbecue grill and a porch.
Tarps, a lot of tarps and things. Yeah, and couches.
It just keeps getting bigger.
You guys
are the right ones to ask. They mentioned the dead collector, and with lower decks, it feels like everything is a subtle or not so subtle nod to something. But they said, they mentioned the dead collector's name was Kerner Haas. I don't think that's a reference to anything. And they also said the terrorists tried to use it to blow up Staircase 58. That also felt like it must have been something, but I don't think it was.
Starbase 58.
I thought they said Staircase 58. I mean, it's probably Starbase is probably.
I was watching with the captions on that. Yeah.
That's what I usually do. I blew it there. So what was there a Starbase 58 or Staircase 58? Like, we'll say it's unknown.
I saw the caption, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
So I guess that's a no.
That's my answer, Ryan. I have no idea.
It was only an Okudagram reference from DS9's Whispers, but it was nothing to do with the story. It was just on a big chart of people coming and going.
Oh, what?
So they found a safe thing that had not been. It's really funny sometimes when they get into something that's dicey that they think someone's going to go, they'll say Starbase 58, and somebody say, you guys, in episode 2.9 of Voyager, Starbase 58 is supposed to be 12.9 light. It's like they get these safe things that are mentions and throwaways, but they've never been grounded in anything. So, I mean, it's very cool. They had been mentioned before-ish, but not in a important way. So they can just have it be a throwaway. And oh, look, we're starting the new canon thread of a terrorist attack. Well, it's canon now. And this Veruvian ore, and they said it's a Veru. It's like, who knows who they are? So it's like, it's really weird that they're laying down all this canon for real that somebody 5 years from now is going to take and run with.
It's canon fodder.
It's like air thread, to where it came from. Yeah.
I have a small theory about the giant science officer bone structure.
Let's hear it, because I heard one too, and I know Larry's got. It's probably all the same thing.
So,
that was my other laugh out loud moment. But go, Rick. Yeah.
Well, and I. Okay, so didn't Spock grow hella tall in the animated series?
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
So obviously it wouldn't be. Spock,
and his name was Paul Forrest. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to tall Spock, Paul Forrest.
Paul Forrest. That would be fun, actually.
It was actually a clone of Spock, because Spock talked to his big self.
It was a clone. So basically, that, all intents and purposes, was probably him. Because who else?
Oh, I hoped it was.
Like dug him up.
No, and it's the way it was just there, and it wasn't like you looked at the skull and said, "Wow, that's a Vulcan skull." It's like, how do you know? But the fact that it was like this mountains of blue, with the original series rank on it a little bit, but you knew what it was. It's some humongous original series blue old science outfit. And it's like, well, who else would be a huge, blue science officer? But the fact that they've had the scene, like they were climbing up Mount 50-foot Spock, and they were just like wallowing in that blue material background. They had a whole scene, and they had their leadership thing. They're looking at Tendi and Rutherford, like, who should be in charge? It was like they stayed on that blue fabric forever, and it's like they're just rubbing it in your face that that's what it has to be. But it's so subtle. It's like, it's here if you want it, and don't worry about it if you don't know. And meanwhile, you're just like dying.
Right. It's not crucial to the plot at all. But also, real quick,
like
Veruvian ore, as Sirach knows, we kind of count these Trekkian names, which are like, they say Veruvian ore or Albanian wool. It's just some made up thing with an IAN and then something that we've all heard of. They never say it's Albanian sloggles or something like that, because you don't know what a sloggle is, but you say an Albanian hawk, you go, oh, it's a hawk. Sloggle. I get it. So we had Veruvian ore was one.
Hey,
the only thing I picked up in that episode as far as the collector's thing, sorry to cut you off, Rico, but it was the Chateau Picard cases. That was that's the only thing I saw. There were boxes of the Chateau Picard somewhere in that. You missed that?
Yeah, missed that.
Like two stacked tall, where you could see the Chateau Picard over whatever was standing next to it.
Yes. That's what I noticed. I was like, oh, okay, they got the old cases, maybe some wine. So that was about it.
Drinking that wine and smoking them tweeds.
What were you going to say, Rico?
No, I was just going to say the lamp behind you with the purple coming out. I don't know why, but it has a very TOS type of look to it. You know how like TOS had like all these bright color, like one side of the wall would be red, while this side of the wall would be green. Why? Just because that's how they lit shit back then. So
and they used a lot of pastel-y colors too, a little bit. But I guess
now that you say it, it looks to me like Wrath of Khan, where they're in the Mutara Nebula, and you've got the ship silhouettes. Like that's the you're looking close up at the hull of the Enterprise and the Reliance about to come up at it. It's that Pepto-Bismol pink. The nebula is all around them.
See, you can find Star Trek in.
Yeah, this was my version of Black Alert, so that's all I had for it.
Black light
it's
alert.
Actually it's a black light alert.
Magenta.
It's
alert.
A Veruvian lamp, is what it is. It's a Veruvian lampshade.
Just be wary, Sirach, if you walk into a room and someone says Black Alert.
Yeah, it's happened too many times to me, way before the show came on. But I'm back to this Sirach reference that you mentioned, Larry, earlier. Just a little quote about who Sir Ak was, S-U-R-A-K. The greatest of all who ever lived on our planet.
There you go.
The father of all we became. All right, that's pretty good high praises there.
You okay with that?
I'm all right with that.
You up for that? Yeah. You're only like halfway there. You have so much more ahead of you. So much more destiny.
It almost seems like Lower Decks now has become a show where Star Trek nerds can kind of almost like keep score. It's almost like a trivia night where it's like, how many things can you get, and everybody's trying to outdo this, and I always go back to one of my favorite scenes ever in Star Trek, which is Data and Hutch in Starship Mine, where Data is learning how to do small talk, and he's watching him, and so he, one guy, he's like, did you know that blah 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 blah? And Data's like, I did, but did you know that blah 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 blah? That's what it feels like when you're watching Lower Decks. Like, everybody's catching this and trying to climb on top of the last thing to add to it. So
it's like we need different categories. We need like what did you get on the first pass, and then what did you do with the freeze button on the second pass, and it's like a little if you really want to make a competition out of it. And
it's already been made,
except that it's fandom. Yeah.
So let's hear. You guys catch any other references, by the way?
I heard when the collector was talking to I think to Rutherford, he said, take my card, I've got plenty of menageries. Wasn't that a...
Oh, shoot. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
Well
I've got
done.
Lots in my menagerie. Yeah.
Yeah. He said that,
knowledge.
Right, Larry? I think you caught that too, right?
Yeah.
So I figured that was a reference there. That's the only other one I got.
Okay. Well, can I just say, this is like a mini laugh out loud. Can I just say that the fact they're like Boimler's not there and they're talking about him and they're going that they say that Boimler had this, but just the fact that there is a class at the Academy called Ethics of Collecting.
Right. Yes.
Just, speaking of the guy who was running around trying to find a baseball card on DS9,
Well, I know all about ethics of collecting
on and
breaking those ethics.
But it's like in a replicator society, the fact that they still, which they did on the show, everybody did that. Here's the Buck Bokai trading card and all that. But it's like the fact that they have an academy. Like, does West Point have a class called the Ethics of Collecting? I don't think they have time for it. But I just died when I heard that.
Welcome back to life. They kind of
referenced that a little bit in Picard. I thought when Picard was going into the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Collections or whatever it was for all the memories of every particular item, when he was looking for all that stuff, it felt like that was Starfleet's Hall of Collections, right?
Yeah,
where they had all
their memory alpha,
pretty much,
yeah, like their Smithsonian memory alpha, Basically. But just the fact that private people would still collect stuff just to brag, and they did this episode. Well, my collection was bigger than his, but okay, fine, we were friends.
How cool is seeing finally after 30-something years seeing the Titan and seeing little mini adventures aboard the Titan. And I think they're nailing Riker so perfectly with just him. He's got his own ship. He's all about adventure. Even like the way they draw him, it's almost like he's like, let's go! Come on! Yeah!
Nautical beard guy. Yeah,
it's great, man. I love it. He's you want to see that. I want to see a series.
I've always wanted to see that too, because I've read the first 3 Titan books that came out when they came out back in the day, and there were so many characters, and they had so many different aliens and types and species, and it was really an interesting thing. I don't think Lower Decks is really reflecting what was written in the books, but as we know, the books are not canon, so they can do whatever they want with them. But still, that always piqued my interest about the Titan and all the hijinks and adventures that they go through. Now we're going to see it through the eyes of Boimler plate, but good enough, I guess.
But it's fun, man, and I think it could be it could be another series, and I think a lot of people would be here for it, especially if Frakes is on board, and it's obviously just like Lower Decks. I mean, it opens up the possibility of so many legacy characters to fall through, and it could be even more serious, maybe a little bit more serious, not too much serious, but it can have a different flow from what Lower Decks does. I don't know.
It's a lot like MASH. They find time. Sometimes it gets a little more serious. Like after a while, you're like, oh my God, she's like Rise of Invicta. It's like she's psychoanalyzing herself, and somebody's going to get hurt here, But there's some pathos in there that you're not expecting by the time they wrapped up the first season. You're like, once you made peace with the idea that this is going to be good, and you'll laugh at it, and that's all you expect. And then the next thing is, oh my God, they're making you care about the characters. You know, it's not just ha in a well done way and drawn real well. It was kind of amazing.
Speaking of
finale, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of the characters and liking the characters, how do you guys feel about Boimler plate's secondary clone guy? I mean, you could tell which one was the original and which one was the clone, because the clone was completely different. And they had the funny scene where, the dumb Boimler, steps forward. He's like, oh, I thought we were supposed to both do this. And the other guy's like, no, I just thought we were sharing like a clone moment or whatever it was. And then he ends up becoming best buds with Riker so quickly. And he wants to be, and he's like, have some Romulan ale. Meanwhile, the original Boimler is reduced back to ensign and sent back to the trash ship or whatever, the secondary mission ship. I thought that was hilarious, because now, whenever they bring that back, he's going to be like a lieutenant, and then they're going to see him in the third season, going to be a lieutenant commander. He's just going to keep flying by.
That's true.
Yeah, I thought that was a clever way for them to bring Boimler back, actually, because we were missing him on the show. I felt like there was a certain element of the show that wasn't complete without him. Because his character is so integral to the show. He's basically the number 2 on the call sheet. So
you knew he was going to be back around. You knew it was going to happen. Yeah, how are they going to do it?
Yeah, how are they going to do it? And they decided to do it by doing the whole Thomas Riker cloning. They cloned an episode, which is hilarious in itself. because the episode was about cloning. So that's as good as it gets. And then they brought him back. So I'm glad that they brought him back. It kind of sucks for Chet because he got kicked to the side really quickly. That's my friend. There's my friend.
Yeah, well, they
Boimler got done the way he did Mariner. Boimler got left behind and pushed out the way that Boimler treated the real Boimler treated Mariner when he left and didn't say bye.
Right.
It's kind of like and which is fun to see that bar scene at the end when they kind of dump on him, which was totally, they're happy to see him, but he's dumped. They make sure and let him know they were pissed about the way he left. So that was.
I think Jet's going to be kept in the tertiary cast of characters, along with Ensign Barnes, along with Jennifer, the Andorian or whatever she was, right? They have, and Steve, exactly. Steve Stevens apparently is his name. The guy that
what's the cat's name on this show? The Dr. Cat.
Ta'ana.
Yeah, when Ta'ana said, "This is not the first time that I brought back a stuffed animal" or something like that.
A puppet. It's the first time
a puppet. Yeah, with a sign on it that says, "Please do not play with it." I thought that was. That was a nice little joke right there.
And Miglamo is in this, and what dawned on me was he's sitting in the old council, like Troy's chair, like the one left of the captain.
Yeah.
And what about Data? All he wanted to do was feel. It was such a
right. This was the doctor that used the fruit metaphors or whatever it was, right?
Yeah. But this one actually had, if you think about it, they had Boimler on the Titan with the Adventure, and then you've got the foursome on the collector ship, and then you also had the Captain Freeman they actually had 3 plots going, and the C plot was her and her performance review about how she's supposed to be hands off and
right.
And that side eye when she says, "I don't micromanage anything," and everyone just kind of looks away.
That was a great white shot. You're like, oh no.
So here we go. Go ahead, Sirach, because I'm about to hit a bunch of information. So let's first.
Okay. So I'm just going to make a reference about the joke. They said they had string quartets. Wow, what a rush! Play me a concerto. They made a little joke about the theme music for the shows, which was kind of a funny little self-deprecating joke. But really quickly, I just wanted to bring up the point that I thought was really kind of lost in all the humor, and that is that there are certain people aboard this ship, and just in life in general, that feel like they're not able to speak up and talk about whatever their solutions are to problems because they're outranked by somebody or their bosses, shutting them down. And I thought that even though it was very briefly touched upon with Tendi and Rutherford kind of saying, "Hey, we have an idea, but you guys never listened to us," I felt like they touched upon a real serious issue that a lot of people have solutions for things and they have good ideas and sometimes are overlooked in life. And I just felt like, we need to bring light to those people, and they need to have the courage and the opportunity to speak up in different moments,
Right.
So that's 2 cents on that.
Good leadership includes listening to the other people.
Yeah. And that's the deceptive part about Lower Decks, because you can actually take a real kernel of a human, a life lesson away from it in the middle of your thinking you're just enjoying this cartoon. And it was great. And it was a great character thing because Mariner and Jet both kind of shut up and looked at each other like, oh yeah, they're totally right.
Yeah.
Right. It's true. Yes, you could get a good kernel of truth out of there, or a corporal, a major, whatever you want. So, we should. Sorry, Rico. Rico looked like he almost passed out from how bad that was. He's like, he got woozy. He got woozy.
It wasn't exactly a private.
I know Rico's tune out face. That was his tuning you out face. It was very good, Rico. Very good.
Thank you.
The reason I don't recognize it is because that's the only face he has around me. You know what? I was just going to bring up what some of the fans and friends said, but I feel like this should be called like a segment called like Nerd Alert, right? Because Nerd Alert is when all the references come out. So, associate producer Anne Marie Siegel says, and I missed this, there's a Betazoid gift box which was the silver face that was Armin's first role. Actually, his first role was as that thing where he's like in the Next Generation.
I was in the collection.
Yeah,
because at first you could see it, and at first I thought it was like a TV. I thought it was like a 90s plasma TV or something, or not a plasma, but a skinny TV. And I thought, well, that's kind of random to have it be a TV. And then there was one angle when you could finally see there was a face. It wasn't the hump on a TV tube.
It would have been funny though to see a plasma TV, or even like
in a collector's museum.
So that's a good nerd alert. She also mentions the game headset that we all mentioned and Kivas Fajo, which was like a Lolita reference. Our buddy Don Crandall, big time nerd alert. He mentions the co-ed shower, which was very similar and possibly a reference to the Starship Troopers shower scene, if you remember that one way back in the day. But it was very reminiscent of that. Battlestar Galactica remake also does the co-ed showers. But then he mentioned the first time we saw that was in the RoboCop movie, who was also directed by Starship Troopers, Paul Verhoeven, however you spell that or pronounce that. Lots of nerdy stuff there. He said the giant skeleton, like what you guys mentioned, Spock. Something I had forgotten was Walter Koenig actually wrote that episode. So that's a nice homage to him.
That was his bone thrown because Walter didn't get to voice Chekhov in the animated. So
they gave him one episode.
And the Retlaw plant, which is Walter's.
We good now? Okay, cool.
Yeah. He also mentioned the Abraham Lincoln episode that you guys mentioned. Sonic showers. He mentioned the same thing you mentioned, which was motion picture, Bailana, and an actual shower in Enterprise. Anyway, nerd alert there.
They should have had a DVD collection of I Love Lucy.
Oh.
There's never been a Lucy reference.
What should they have had in the collectible section? That's a great question to ask.
Yeah.
They should. There has never been a Lucy reference in any of the Star Trek shows or movies, and we all know Lucy's obvious connection to it all.
Yeah, I think they were going to go bigger, but they didn't. But I think there's one mention of Lucy when Enterprise is in you see to Paul's when the secret Vulcans crash land.
You're right.
I think they say something about, hey, I don't want to miss I Love Lucy tonight. And it's not a big deal. They just say it.
No,
really?
There
you go.
Oh.
There it is.
I think everybody's going to yell at me.
No, you're right. I remember that. You just reminded me.
Because it was in the 50s.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a wink and a nod. You're right.
I missed the "that's what she said" moment when you said, I thought they were going to go bigger, but they didn't. And sorry, Larry.
Zip, zing, zip.
It's like a flying animated Mek'leth flying past you.
Also, quick shout out to J.R. Poole that made this awesome poster for Melissa Longo.
All
the women of Deep Space Nine, but he put Lucille Ball right at the bottom there, which is really cool. Beautifully done, J.R. Poole. The Black Heroes Movement.world is his website.
Yeah, that's a great mock-up that he made, and it looks great. I mean, it just ties in all the things, at least for Deep Space Nine. He could do one. Yeah, he's done a couple of others. He could do the Women of Trek as well. I mean, and just have every woman in Star Trek. But that'll be a lot bigger image. But he's awesome, man. Shout out to J.R. Poole and his skills. But I wanted to say, we talked about a little bit about the animation, but the animation is awesome, especially when they show the ships and the fighting scene.
Mm-hmm.
When they show Frakes on the Titan, I mean, it looks good. Like, I'm like, how this will take a while for this one to age, because it's done well enough that I feel like over time it'll still have that appeal to it.
Yeah, I love the exterior shots. You know, we mentioned before how it almost seems like it's a different company doing the exterior shots versus the interior and character shots. And those exterior shots just have such a bigger in scope look to them. You know, they just look more detailed and more beautiful.
Realistic. There's more realism to the exterior shots. I would agree, because the interior, the animated actors look cartoony, right? They have that cartoony feel. But when you watch the actual animated, I mean, when the animation for the exterior shots, you kind of lose the cartoony feel, and it feels like, CGI-ish or something. It looks actually pretty realistic.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the edge of your seat when they're doing the barrel roll and come up the aft. See how they look with their aft hanging out, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
You got your.
What does that mean?
No, it was a line in. It was a line in the episode.
Oh. All right. Well, we're just about out of time. You guys have any final thoughts on this episode? Yay,
I just want to jump in with two or three things from that room before everybody yells. So the goofy mask that Data wore in Masks is like, that's in there one time.
Oh, I didn't
there's
see
a
that.
Caddiscot board. Yeah, it's like one shot, and I didn't see it the first time. But there is the thing that Naomi Wildman played with Seven in Voyager. There's a Caddiscot game board that pops up a lot of times. Anyway, there's so much. It's pinkish purple. There's just so much. And somebody's going to shoot me here. There was very prominently a couple of it looked like red high top tennis shoe sneakers. I want to say sitting next to the Chateau Picard crates.
Like Jordans?
I was racing along trying to figure out. They either looked like they were lace-ups or it was just some alien thing. But
maybe it was Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. That's what I was thinking.
That'd be a pretty good reference if it was.
Well, it wasn't the Star Trek thing, so I didn't know. I was trying to think Star Trek references. Anyway, there's a ton of goofy.
That'd be so cool.
Goofy
we'll have to check that out.
The Picard painting is on the wall that he was making in art class is back over on the
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's another one that looks like it's a naked Binar nude with under a drape. There's some alien head under a drape, like it's a classic nude with a drape over it. But
sorry, I missed that one.
Alien head that's sitting up on that back wall a couple of times. I was like, okay, you could, but it'll take hours for somebody to scour. And some people already have. They're already got a lot of it. But there's so many wacky.
Let me ask you a question, Larry, while you're going through the list. The sex helmet thing that the alien stole that set off the alarm, is that a reference from anything, or
I think that was made up?
I think that was just totally off the wall. Yeah, the look looked good, but
there was like blood on it too.
Yeah, you saw that, right? I was like,
it's Klingon. So.
Yeah. Does it give you magical powers, and where can I get one?
Yeah. Well, Klingon sex is supposed to be kind of dangerous and
but there's weaponry at the top of it. They're blades. Yeah. I know one thing you're not going to be doing with those blades on your head. I'll tell you, Batman is not going to wear that one. Rico, you were gonna,
or is he?
I don't know. I don't know. Rico, you had something to say?
I just in general, man, I really love this show, and I love all the nostalgia that's thrown out there. I mean, even in the lines, I'm waiting for some little thing where you're going to be like, I know what you just said. I know what you were referencing. All right. I love what they're doing with it. And I love that it's all canon. And I love that it's very much, it's a fun ride. And obviously it's a nod to next gen, that era. And I just, I just think it's a really clever show that definitely winks and nods to the fans all the time, but does it in a way where it's not just throwing stuff in the mix for the sake of throwing stuff in there. I mean, there's a couple of times, but it's still fun. And because the show is fun, you let anything go that you could easily, like Ryan does, put on the tie and be like, this, that, shim. You know what I mean? So I appreciate this. I appreciate the show a lot for what it offers, and just all the, and there's so many ways that you can continue to expand with this, and it's great.
So that being said, before we go, Rico, anything to plug? Where can we find you?
You can find me. I am Rico Anderson on Instagram. Same with Twitter, and Rico Anderson on Facebook. My show, Apple TV Plus, Truth Be Told, comes out tomorrow. I play Herbie on the show. Hey. Yes. Stars Octavia Spencer, Ron Cephas Jones, Tracy Toms, Mekhi Phifer, This is season 2, so I'm excited, and I encourage everybody to check it out.
Damn, I'm sorry that this episode won't air for another month, but otherwise, no, I'm just kidding. It airs today.
No! Then forget everything I just said. Also, happy birthday, Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Very good.
100. Yeah. Larry, I'm guessing you may have something to promote, or where can we find you?
Well, LarryNemecek.com is good hub, and most of my social is Larry Nemecek's Truckland, but my Twitter is just Larry Nemecek. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook. Tuesdays, I have Truckland Tuesdays live at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern, where we just do a topic and go with it with the chat audience. And Saturdays, we have Life Support Live with Dr. Ali and Dr. Trek. One of us is a real doctor, boldly going. Kind of what Sirach did there with that little moment of humanity there in the middle of the otherwise episodes, what we do with a theme every week. And then the Trek Files, my podcast from Roddenberry. And this week we did a special Gene's birthday, kind of an atypical moment for that too. So that's going on. And this whole live event thing, we were talking a little bit about Vegas. I'm going to be at Salt Lake Comic-Con, it's now at Salt Lake Fan X, the middle of September. So that'll be another, and I'm flying for the first time in almost 2 years. So that'll
wings
be
or jetpack?
Yeah. I need some gravity boots. I didn't see any gravity boots.
You need a net then.
Just being.
Look.
Yeah.
Cool. We do want to give a very special thanks to Carmen, aka Skillet, PJ Thomas, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arukin, Yvette Blackman Tom, Homer Frizzell, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Dr. Susan B. Gruner, Titus Moeller, Tim Baum, John Mann, and Mark Rocco. I think that's about it, right, guys?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, that's about it. I'm good with that.
Well, then that's that. All right. So everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Larry, Rico, thank you for playing with us and for giving us about 50 things more than what we had in our notes. And everybody at home, always remember the 7th rule.